What's up, hackers? Welcome to Saturday Hacker Day. My name is Taggart, and we are here. We're not in Vegas. We're still doing the thing for the 7 of you who are also not in Vegas, but it's good to see you anyway. So we're going to kick off, as always, on Saturdays with some cyber news from this week. And the first one that we have to talk about is Twilio getting smished. And incidentally, we're going to have 2 kind of MFA compromise stories this week. I don't think that's a coincidence, but the first one is about Twilio. And from their incident report, essentially what happened was that their employees were sent SMS messages that attempted to impersonate Twilio itself, sending messages saying that your login has expired and go to twilio-sso.com to update the password. Now, Twilio is a tech company, but nevertheless, there are going to be people who are susceptible to these kinds of attacks. And, look, even security professionals can fall for these sorts of things. And after initial access was attained by the attackers, Twilio's write-up says that approximately 125 Twilio customers had data that was accessed by malicious actors for what they call a short period of time, and they've all been notified. So if you are a Twilio customer and this happened to you, you should have been notified about it already. If this sounds a little bit like the Okta situation, we don't have an attribution to this right now, but hold on to that thought, because this does to me feel a little bit like the Okta situation from a few months back, which, if you recall, was the work of the Lapsus group, those meddling teens from the UK that seem to be able to just pay money for initial access, or to use these basic social engineering techniques to get access to pretty sensitive networks. Which brings us to story number 2. Cisco also confirmed this week that it was the victim of an attack all the way back in May, and that there was data exfiltrated, including some source code. Now, they're claiming that it was the Yanluang ransomware group, but follows the Yanluang group actually has ties to Lapsus. So Lapsus is an initial access provider, right? So Yanluang would contract with Lapsus to get initial access, and then they would go do whatever they wanted to do once they got in. So that's kind of how that relationship works, according to the write-ups that we've seen. Now, to Cisco's credit, their write-up of this incident is incredibly detailed, and link is going in the chat from Talos Intelligence. It's really cool. I think there's a lot to understand in here about what happened. So first of all, the initial entry was through voice phishing attacks and an attempt to accept multi-factor authentication push notifications. So a couple of things were going on here. Sometimes employees were being prompted through social engineering to accept MFA pushes. So passwords were already compromised, but they needed the MFA. So they were trying to trick people into pressing the accept. So if you use a push-based multi-factor authentication like Duo or some of the others that are out there, what will happen is that if you choose that push option, a notification will pop up on your device, and you will have to accept or approve that authentication attempt, at which point you're good to go. Here's the thing, though. It turns out that if you send people enough of these push notifications, they will eventually just hit approve. Not everybody, but enough people will just hit approve to get them to go away. And that is another technique that was happening in this particular case. I would also say that we talk about this from both a red team and blue team perspective with the folks that I work with. And one of the things that we always think about is timing of attacks, right? So if you're a heavy MFA environment and you are if you're attacking a heavy MFA environment and you time your attacks, right, for like first thing in the morning when you know everybody is signing into everything to start their day anyway, what chance is an extra MFA push going to have of getting approved? And the answer is pretty high. So that's not just spamming, that is being pretty strategic with your timing, right? So that it's in and amongst other MFA pushes that you may be getting, and you might think, oh, there was just a lag with one of them. Okay, sure, I'm still trying to sign into something, so go ahead and approve. That is a pretty tricky technique, and you might wonder, okay, well, how do you prevent that? You prevent that by having the MFA not be push-based. You would have the authentication require sort of a second entry code that is sort of a timed one-time password or something like that, which is a bit different. Now, you can still social engineer that in some ways, but it's a lot safer than just the straight-up push, right? So I'm a big fan of TOTP, and I'm a big fan of course, tools like YubiKeys for that kind of authentication. The problem with YubiKeys really is not everybody's going to want to have an extra physical device kicking around that they can lose. and that they will have to press. It doesn't work for everybody's use case. And so as much as I believe in the technology, I do think that a TOTP, a timed one-time password, is kind of a nice middle ground where you do have to have some additional user interaction for that authentication, but you don't have sort of the push, the prompt from the authentication mechanism. It still has to be user initiated, if that makes sense. And that reduces the potential for this kind of spamming attack. Vanny, good to see you. Now, once the attackers were in the Cisco environment, there's a little bit of like yada, yada, yada here, but they were using Cobalt Strike, Powersploit, Mimikatz, Impacket, the huge. And once they got to domain controllers, they did what you do on domain controllers. So they dumped NTDS, the basically the Active Directory database, right, using ntdsutil.exe. This should be a detection in your environment. Mick Douglas, or Better Safety Net on Twitter, was talking about how this should be basically a straight up alert, right? That if you have ntdsutil.exe being used, your false positive rate for that being malicious is pretty low. You might have a domain administrator doing something interesting with it, but that's going to be rare, and you can filter that out, right? Whereas anything else on there is going to be something to investigate. And then after that, there were users being added to systems, and then registries being saved out, run DLL, the usual LSAS dumps, all that normal stuff. They used the usual, but still weren't caught. Yeah, so I'm trying to read through the write-up now. So we also observed the installation. So they observed what happened then. In the weeks following the eviction of the attacker from the environment, we observed continuous attempts to reestablish access. But how long did they have dwell time? They moved into the Citrix environment, compromising a series of Citrix servers, and eventually obtained privileged access to domain controllers. Terrifying. Okay, I think if I'm reading through this and reading between the lines, they moved into the Citrix environment. That's the kicker. I'll bet you anything that their Citrix environment, because of the way that Citrix does their virtual desktops and things like that, they weren't able to deploy the same level of defenses that they were elsewhere. I'll bet you anything that's what was going on. Because the problem with Citrix devices, right, is that they virtualize in layers. And one thing that EDRs and other defensive tools really hate is replicated systems, because the IDs, depending on how you deploy it, are going to be the same. So it may be the case that they just did not figure out how to do that, and they didn't have right endpoint detection on their virtual desktops or whatever. That's kind of like, I don't know that for sure. I'm just reading between the lines here, and that sounds like what's going on. And that is like a known problem, by the way, with endpoint detection software, that it does not like highly ephemeral and replicated environments, because you have to be super careful with how the agent IDs and things like that are changed, and host names, if you're keyed off of host names, are changed so that you don't lose data. But yeah, I strongly recommend people go check out that write-up. It's a really good kind of after action. I think it's very honest of them to show exactly how this went and all of the attribution that they went through and did. So good job to Talos, even though unfortunately it looks like there were some things that could have prevented this in the first place. But that's always how that goes, right? Last story, how about some good news? Tornado Cash, which is, I don't know how else to put it other than a cryptocurrency money laundering operation, has been blocked by the U.S. Treasury Department. And so sanctions have been put on it and prevented U.S. businesses from using the service. I think this is phenomenal, kind of. The trick is how far these sanctions are going to go, and if there end up being fines for organizations that end up having to pay ransoms. We saw this before. There were certain cryptocurrency exchanges that had similar sanctions put on them a few months ago by the Treasury Department. And the question always is this going to harm the businesses that are just trying to recover their systems, and you're just dinging them for having to make a deal with the devil anyway, because that's the only choice that they really realistically have. We understand that they want to discourage that kind of behavior, but at the same time, businesses have to recover, right? And if recovery from backups and recovery from other systems or other methods isn't viable, the truth is that for many organizations, on an individual basis, and I want to be very clear about that, on an individual basis, paying the ransom is the correct choice for them because it recovers their data and gets them back to where they need to be. Now, writ large, that doesn't work because as that decision scales, now you've established a marketplace for ransomware to operate and continue to operate. It's one of those things where, the Kant categorical imperative doesn't necessarily make any sense because your individual choice isn't just your individual choice. You're establishing a pattern of behavior that does scale up and change the threat landscape. Didn't expect to get an Immanuel Kant reference into the Cyber News section, but here we are. At any rate, so Tornado Cash has been sanctioned, so it's been long used by APT groups to launder money, and I'm pleased that the Treasury Department continues to take these sorts of actions as long as it doesn't backfire and hurt the folks who are victims in the first place. Okay, with that, we are ready to get into the main material for today, and so using our new format of the joined blue and red Saturday Hacker Day, taking a little bit of what we used to do on the Tuesday streams and plopping it in here, we're going to do some Try Hack Me. We're going to do an exploitation of Active Directory. But as we go, we're going to talk about how to defend against it. And if everything goes according to plan, we're going to also show how to use the same data that attackers use in a defensive context so that the blue team can get the same level of benefit from Active Directory enumeration as the red team does. Let's get into it. All right. So, I have gone ahead and done some pre-gaming here. The room that we're doing is the Try Hack Me room exploiting AD. And very similar to the other AD rooms that we've done, it requires... Was that implying Bloodhound? Oh, yeah. And Kieran, good to see you. So similar to the other rooms that we've done here, it has its own domain controller, it has its own sort of network, and we have downloaded a special VPN connection from Try Hack Me to connect to it, and we've modified our DNS to use this domain controller as an additional DNS server. And we can guarantee that that's working with this little NS lookup here, thmdc.za.tryhackme.loc in this case, rather than .com. It's looking good, so we're ready to get to work. They have also kindly provided us some Bloodhound data to get started with, so we don't have to enumerate it ourselves this time. I've downloaded that, and I've even started Bloodhound and gotten it running, but I want to walk everybody through that just so everyone's on the same page. So in order to use Bloodhound, right? In order to use Bloodhound, the first thing you want to do is download Bloodhound from GitHub. And there's actually a pretty big new release over the last couple days. If I reload this page, I should see a new one from like August 8th, 9th, something like that. Okay, a little bit before that, but there's a huge Azure refactor. And there's like new edges that you can see. DC syncs, sync lapse password, and a bunch of Azure stuff. So really cool new things in Bloodhound to check out. I don't know if we're going to see any of them today with this particular set of nodes and edges, but very useful in real life. So I've downloaded the new version of Bloodhound, and I also had to do some interesting work. I don't know why, but my default JVM, my default JDK Java version stopped working. Neo4j decided it wasn't going to run anymore. And so I just want to tell you, like, if you get this error message where you're using Java 15 or Java 17 or 18 rather than Java 11 in in Kali, here's how you fix that. You do sudo update alternatives config Java, and that'll allow you to select what Java version you're using. And so you can see the default is here, the Java 17, right? But I've switched it over to Java 11, which is present. So I'm by switching that over, then Neo4j knows what JDK to use, and all works as according to plan. Oh yeah, that's right, Killer. That's the classic line. Attackers think in graphs and defenders think in lists. In fact, to bridge that gap, there is a tool from Black Hills actually called Purple Hound. Nope, I wanted to search. Come on. That takes Bloodhound data and listify Plumhound, not Purple Hound. I do that every time. Plumhound that takes Bloodhound data and listifies it in ways that make sense to defenders. And I don't love this conceit because I think the structure of it sounds derogatory toward defenders. Like, attackers think in graphs, that's cool. Defenders think in lists suck. That's not really how that works. The point is that attackers have a given objective, right? That they're trying to get to a thing. But defenders have stuff to do, right? They have lists of assets to defend and patch and harden and update and all of those things. Those are tasks. They're to-do lists. So it's not that like one is a better way of thinking about it than the other. It's just that their work takes different shapes. And what Plumhound does is it provides kind of like remediation recommendations in lists that defenders can take advantage of. So we'll try to give this a shot today. Let me clone that down into scripts. All right, while that's cloning, let's see. I have imported the Bloodhound data from our upload here. And all right, everything's good. I don't have anything up on the screen yet because I haven't made any queries. So let's see what the room is actually asking us to do. The first thing we're talking about is permission delegation. Permission delegation exploits are often referred to as ACL, or access control list based attacks. AD allows administrators to configure access control entities that populate discretionary access control lists. So this is a lot of acronyms that just flew at us all at once. Almost any AD object can be secured with access control entities, which then describe the allowed and denied permissions. However, if these are misconfigured, it may be possible for an attacker to exploit them. The Bloodhound documentation assists in enumerating ACEs. Let's take a look at what they're sending us to in the Bloodhound docs. And by the way, the Bloodhound docs are phenomenal, explaining what all of the edges are. All right. So we actually have been given a user account already. Which we've picked up. So Michael Cameron is our owned account. And in fact, you can see that I have a session on an RDP session on a compromised workstation already. What does SACL stand for, Killer? I hate that. Don't drop acronyms without explaining them, please. Good, Kieran. Sorry, that was a little snappy. The reason I'm so insistent that people explain acronyms the first time they drop them is because it's that kind of language that makes people feel like they should know what you're talking about already, and then they'll feel embarrassed. which we're trying to prevent here. System access control list. Okay, cool. So that's what an SACL is. Right, so we have Michael Cameron as an account that has been compromised. So let's go get Michael.Cameron here. Let's look for Cameron. Cool. Do I not have those users? I thought I did. Let's look for tier 2. Okay, so I do have data in here. If I look for Michael, is there anything in there? Yeah. Weird. Interesting that my user account isn't in there. Nifty. Well, let's see if the workstation is. THM work 1. Yeah, definitely is. Okay. So we're going to mark computer as... Well, it's actually not owned because we don't have privileges really on this thing. I'm going to see if I can get another set of credentials that are actually in here. Because it seems like I should. They have this neat little distributor that says get credentials. I guess I could just ask for as many credentials as this thing will give out. All right, let's see if Georgia Cross is in here. Okay, it kind of seems like they're intentionally not in here at this point. The whole point is that they want us to take a look at these things. Own all the users, yeah. Since the domain is tiered, our first step will be to compromise the tier 2 infrastructure. We need to compromise tier 2 admins. Let's ask if there's add your user account to the start position and the tier 2 admin group as the end position. Yeah, but I can't. I'm just going to add a different person because essentially they're all the same, right? They're all users here. I'll try one more time with the distributor. Justin Barnes. Okay, Justin, are you there? Uh-huh. Okay. We'll say start a starting node, and we're trying to get to the tier 2 admins. We'll start that as the ending node. And you can see I get this kind of... There we go. So once I have this kind of pathfinding, Bloodhound is like going to go and try to find a graph that takes me there. So straight up, we see that this person is a member of domain users, and that's true for our user account too. So this is a perfectly fine stand-in in this case. I have generic right to IT support za.tryhackme.loc. What is generic right? Well, if you right-click on this thing and click help, it'll actually tell you a little bit about it, and this is super handy. The members of the group domain users have generic right access to the group IT support at za.tryhackme.loc. Generic right access grants you the ability to write any non-protected attribute on the target object, including members for a group, and service principal names for a user. Abuse. Okay, so what can this group do? Because I can add, if I can add myself to this group, then what can I do? It looks like I can change passwords for certain users. That's right. That's right. You can add yourself to that group. And it looks like I can change passwords for the T2 users. At which point, once I'm able to change the password, as long as there's no additional layer of protection like MFA internally, which can happen. Targeted Kerber roasting. I mean, kind of. It's not even like a roast, because with a roast, it's way better, honestly, because with a roast, first of all, so many things have to go right. Like, with Kerber roasting, first, you need to have SPNs available to you. That's, like, 1. 2, the service principals have to have, or the hashes for those accounts have to have, back up, those accounts have to have weak passwords or crackable passwords. That's kind of part 2. Oh, with the generic right, you can assign a service principal name to an object and then roast it. Sure, that's true. Okay. It looks like in this case, we can write to this group and then change password. Okay. Easy enough. We're just going to have to use some AD PowerShell to make this happen. Which I am going to... I bet that's stuff that I'm still going to have to learn Husky in CRTO. Which I have done a little bit of, but haven't had a lot of time to dig into. Yeah, that's my next objective, is going after Rastamas's certified red team, or 0 point securities, I suppose I should say. Certified red team operator, cert. That was kind of like my birthday present to myself. All right, so I'm gonna SSH. Za.tryhackme.com. Yeah, exactly like this, except with Michael.Cameron. And to THM work 1 rather than THM jump 1, and it's tryhackme.loc. And all right, looks good. Let's just grab this password here. SSH. Come on. THM work 1. Yeah. Oh, dang it. It's Zada.tryhackme.loc. That's the wrong domain. Let's try that again. Thanks, Karen. My usual MO is that I usually don't go for the exam until I am like rock solid confident that I can do it, because there's no rush in my case, right? Nobody's waiting for me to get it. So I want to make sure that I have it correct. So let's see. Let's fire up PowerShell here. And yeah, I don't have any special powers here. CRTO isn't timed access. That's very cool. Well, there's 40 hours of lab time, right? But yeah, the exam isn't, I guess. Okay, so you can always buy more. Oh. Why can I not type this name correctly? Okay, so we actually have the AD module installed already in this PowerShell session. Great news. No, the lab time doesn't go down if you don't use it. You do have to make sure to stop the machines, though. Yeah, so we're basically just going to do this add AD group member IT support, which is what we found. IT support, right? Why did I do that again? Here we go. Add AD group member. IT support. Members. How are those exams proctored? Do they make you install screen recording software or something? I don't know for the CRTO. Husky can answer that question. Zero proctoring? Yeah, that's what makes sense. Like, CTHP, the threat hunting exam, was not proctored at all. In fact, I've only taken 2 proctored exams. I've only taken 2 proctored exams, and both were nightmares. One was shirts t-shirt exam. One of them was the Linux Foundation Certified Sysadmin exam, which is still the hardest exam I've ever taken. Not because of the proctoring, that was just annoying, but because it was just the most technical exam I've ever had to take. And the other one, which I didn't pass, was the Docker certified, I don't even forget, I don't even remember what the thing was, but like the Docker certification from Docker. That exam was proctored. It was a huge pain, and the questions sucked. I did not like it at all. I use Docker all the time. I know how to use it, but there was stuff about it that, I don't know. It was very like, you know what it was? It was a lot about Docker Enterprise, which I don't use. So yeah, I didn't get that one. Okay. Let's add this group member. Dunzo. And then we're going to try that force change password. Let's select a target, shall we? Caroline Dawson, Robin Wyatt, Ross Bird, Jordan Hawkins, Riley Shaw. I'm going to go after Henry Shaw, not just because it's the center line here, but because it's I'm gonna harbor some ill will toward Henry Shaw through no fault of Henry's. Henry, or Hank, is very close to Hank Henshaw, aka Cyborg, aka the worst part of Superman in the 90s. Stupid Death and Return of Superman. God, what a waste. Okay, so we're gonna go after Henry Shaw. So the first thing we'll do is make a new password, right? With our handy dandy convert to secure string as plain text. Of course. And then we're going to set AD account password. Thank you. Identity. Henry .shaw. Reset. New password. PW. Permission denied. Did I skip a step? Let's make sure I'm actually in the group now. Yep, there I am. The identity looks different in the field. AD account of username, account username of target. If you get an access denied error, your permissions have not yet propagated through the name. This could take up to 10 minutes. Take a quick break. Anybody got 10,000 creds? Or 10,000 cybers? We could do a song. Ha! Great minds. Thanks, Husky. All right. I got a treat for you today. All right, let's see. It's been a second since I've had to set all this up. Piano's down, music is up.
All right, sound check. How are we sounding? Okay. So I've been working on this. This is a classic song that I think defined a generation. Long, long time ago, in a galaxy far away, Naboo was under an attack. And I thought me and Qui-Gon Jinn could talk the Federation into maybe cutting them a little slack. But their response, it didn't thrill us. They locked the doors and tried to kill us. We escaped from that gas, met Jar Jar and Boss Nass. We took a bongo from the sea and we went to Theed to see the Queen. We all wound up on Tatooine. That's where we found this boy. My, this here Anakin guy. Maybe Vader someday later, now he's just a small fry. He left his home and kissed his mommy goodbye, saying soon I'm gonna be a Jedi. Soon I'm gonna be a Jedi. Did you know this junkyard slave isn't even old enough to shave? But he can use the Force, they say. Ought you see him hitting on the Queen? No, he's just 9 and she's 14. Yeah, he's probably gonna marry her someday. Well, I know he built C-3PO, and I've heard how fast his pod can go. And we were broke, it's true, so we made a wager or two. He was a prepubescent flying ace. The minute Jabba started off that race, I knew who would win first place. So yes, it was our boy. We started singing by this here Anakin guy. Maybe Vader someday later, now he's just a small fry. He left his home and kissed his mommy goodbye, saying soon I'm gonna be a Jedi. Soon I'm gonna be a Jedi. Now we finally got to Coruscant, the Jedi Council we knew would want to see how good the boy could be. So we took him there and we told the tale, how his midi-chlorians were off the scale, and he might fulfill that prophecy. Well, the council was impressed, of course. Could he bring balance to the force? They interviewed the kid. All training they forbid, because Yoda sensed in him much fear. And Qui-Gon said, now listen here, just stick it in your pointy ear. I still will teach this boy. My, this here Anakin guy. Maybe Vader someday later, now he's just a small fry. He left his home and kissed his mommy goodbye and said, soon I'm gonna be a Jedi. Soon I'm gonna be a Jedi. We caught a ride back to Naboo, cause Queen Amidala wanted to. I frankly would have liked to stay. And we all fought in that epic war, and it wasn't long at all before little hotshot blew his plane and saved the day. In the end, some Gungans died, some ships blew up, and some pilots fried. A lot of folks were croaking, the battle droids were broken, and the Jedi I admire most met up with Darth Maul and now he's toast. Well, I'm still here and he's a ghost. I guess I'll train this boy. My, this here Anakin guy. Maybe Vader someday later, now he's just a small fry. He left his home and kissed his mommy goodbye, saying soon I'm gonna be a Jedi. Soon I'm gonna be a Jedi. Oh my, this here Anakin guy. Maybe Vader someday later, now he's just a small fry. He left his home and kissed his mommy goodbye and said, soon I'm gonna be a Jedi. Soon I'm gonna be a Jedi.
And we're back. I mean, I think so. Those of us who suffered through waiting in line to see episode 1. Ah, good. It saved our account history. Hey! All it took was some time. Oh, wait, except... Alright. We have now set the AD account password for this user, Henry Shaw. Which means we should be able to SSH in as this person instead. And the cool thing about doing it this way is that we'll already have that admin token. If we were, that's interesting. I guess we're not local admins. We're just tier 2 admins. That's kind of weird. I wonder if we have... Yeah, we're not administrators and we don't have the high level. Interesting. But regardless, now we can pivot from there, right? So let's go to Mr. Shaw here. We're going to mark that as owned. So now we're in. And so now we could do some cool stuff like, and I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but we could try stuff like shortest path to domain admin from own principals. No data. Great. Let's see what else they want us to do here. Which ACC would allow you to update any non-protected was it generic, right? Yes. What is the value of the flag stored on the desktop of the administrator user on THM Work 1? Okay, so plainly, I'm going to try to SSH in as Henry Shaw here. Or RDP in, I should say, as Henry Shaw. Dot try hack me. Dot loc. I'm just seeing killer. I need to add a lighter emote. I'll figure something out. Maybe some like animated piano keys or something. Okay. Thanks for these. You want to be careful with try hack me stuff where it's like when you're building out the room, you maybe don't want to let people peek behind the curtain too much. But I'm gonna. Okay. This literally looks like malware to me. Those are artifacts from other users. Ah, right, because this is a shared network. Delete vagrant user. Oh, so people are just trying to be jerks. I think you're right. Some of them are not. Like the THM network setup. I think the shell was, but I don't think so. Okay. Let's go to users. Administrator. What the hell? So, okay, so I'm a tier 2 admin, but you currently have administrative access to this. But no, I don't. You've actually, I am a member of this group. Am I not? Yeah. But I'm a member of T2 admins, and I am not logged in with it. I don't have administrative access. Interesting. We've escalated our privileges to tier 2. Since the network is shared, it might be best to select one further down the list. We will use set AD account password, yeah. I was just doing that. I was looking for... I have group delegate rights local admin 2. Work 1. I should have it. And work 2, interestingly. Am I supposed to go into work 2? Does that exist? No. It exists in Bloodhound, but I don't think it's actually up. It's very odd. I don't think that ran as administrator because I'm not seeing administrator anything here. This is not working. I'm in administrators. Or no, those are the groups. Group. But what am I actually in? Right? So I'm not in built-in / administrators, and I'm not in... ZAT tier admins. This should be working. I don't know what's going on here. Unless, for some reason... I was removed from the group, but no, because we saw... Oh, interesting. No, Henry Shaw, there I am. I should be good. Net local group administrators, yeah. Yeah, I am not allowed to get to this thing. I'm logged in as a tier 2 admin. Tier 2 admins have admin privileges on this machine. I cannot get... Start process PowerShell verb run as should open an admin PowerShell. Yeah, your local admin. I don't think this is going to work, but we'll try it. Yeah, I'm still not getting the admin token. I don't think I can get the admin token for whatever reason. That is odd. It's not just that I'm unable to open it. If I were... Look. Fire up my local PowerShell here. I should see something like this. And I don't, because it is not picking up that I'm supposed to be an administrator. That's wild. And that's, by the way, that's not something that had to propagate, right, with GP update or anything, because this user was already an administrator, according to the permissions we see here. And it is also still the case that they're a member of the tier 2 admins. But just as a sanity check, we'll do another one. We'll do Melanie Davies. Or let's do Caroline Dawson. Ooh. Unless we did the wrong name. Yeah. What if we did the wrong name? Yeah, I'm seeing that too. It's their T2 account. I just reset some random users, or Henry Shaw's T3, or however you want to think of it, account, not their T2. All right, let's try this one more time. T2 underscore Henry Shaw. Okay. Now. Forgot to put the domain in. Doesn't seem to matter, though, because it was the default domain. Okay. And Romina just died. Neat. Things are going well. How was everybody's week? I didn't hit cancel killer. I hit the full screen button. Okay. There we go. Now we can see stuff. What you got for me? By the way, cat is an alias on PowerShell, so you can just use cat, which is a whole lot easier than the other way of getting content in PowerShell. Wow. Okay. Breaking down delivery pallets and running around throwing kit on users' desks. Very cool. Type also exists. Type is lame. But yes, type also exists. Like the PowerShell-y way of doing it is supposed to be like get content. And then whatever. And then write host. Anyway, we got our flag here. Next, Kerberos delegation. This is definitely where I need work. Mimi cats. Now, I don't know everything about how they want to do this, but I'll tell you one thing I do know for sure. I'm gonna exit. I'm gonna authenticate over PowerShell to this thing for reasons. Right, so admins. PowerShell. Right, don't forget that when you SSH into these things, you're gonna get that admin token by default. So it is often an easier way of working. And that's a feature, not a bug, right? Because, yep. Yes, today you learned that Windows SSH. Yeah, I was like, You get that admin token by default, and that's because UAC would have no way to interact with the session otherwise. The same is true, I think, for WinRM, right? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong about that. I think that if you WinRM into a thing, you're still... I just realized I left my phone camera running. Hey, Minibit. Oh, we have some follows to say thank you for. Minibit, thank you for that follow. Kobe Wolf, MC25, thank you very much. And Owen, big thanks for that resub. Spike on. And Prashant, thank you so much. Yeah, PS Remoting also. And PS Remoting, by the way, is WinRM under the hood by default, but you can make it SSH. And that's like the thing to do. So, and you should. I strongly believe that. You should. Because it prevents the nonsense that gets into... Because most folks don't want to go to the trouble of setting up the TLS certs for encrypted WinRM to run it on HTTPS. So you don't have to with SSH. If you set it up over SSH, it's as easy as setting up anything else. Oh, you're quite welcome, Kobe. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Okay, so now that we're here, let's see what they want us to do. I know that they want us to run Mimikatz and such, and I'm going to tell you that if they want me to drop Mimikatz on here, I'm going to, like, not do that because that's ridiculous. In today's day, in this day and age, if you drop mimikatz.exe on a system, you are going to get burned. Could one then run Ansible in a Windows domain via SSH? Not only could one, Husky, but that's exactly how our lab is set up. Yeah, that's literally how SecLab is designed. Quick aside for Husky. So if we go to SecLab, go to the Proxmox branch, and we go to Ansible. So basically what we do, actually the first thing we do is in Packer, because it's in the Packer template. So for our Windows stuff, if we look at the auto unattend, so this happens during the install of the system. We have some late commands that we run all the way at the bottom here, like so. Add Windows capability, name OpenSSH.server. We start the service. We make sure that it's set to automatic, and that's it. Then in Ansible, what we do, oops. Proxmox. In Ansible, what we do is in our inventory, what we'll do is we tell Ansible for our Windows hosts. Notice I'm in the Windows host group here. We set the Ansible password because it's doing password authentication. You can do key authentication. It's just a little bit more annoying, as you discovered. So if you want to do username password authentication, you just do this. And then you have to install the AskPass module for Python on your Ansible server. That's it. Then it'll just manage your Ansible stuff, or your Windows stuff. So for example, here's a playbook to join something to a domain. Yeah, here's a thing to install Sysmon. Yeah, real easy. Okay, back to Kerberos delegation. The practical use of Kerberos delegation is to enable an application to access resources hosted on a different server. Yoro Pobre, thank you for the follow. An example of this would be a web server that needs to access an SQL database. Without delegation, we would probably use an AD service account and provide it with direct access. Requests are made. You can allow the service to be delegated to the SQL Server service. Once a user logs in, this is new to me. Once a user logs into our web application, the service account will request access to the database on behalf of that user. This means that the user would only be able to access data in the database that they have the relevant permissions for without having to provide any database privileges or permissions to the service account itself. Okay, so there are two types of Kerberos delegation. Unconstrained delegation provides no limits in the background if a user with the trusted for delegation flag set authenticates to a host. With unconstrained delegation configured, a ticket granting ticket for that user is generated, stored in memory, so it can be used later if needed if exceeded. Okay. Suppose an attacker can compromise a host that has unconstrained delegation enabled. In that case, they could attempt to force a privileged account to authenticate to the host. Force a privileged account to authenticate to the host, which would allow them to intercept the generated TGT and impersonate the privileged service. And then there's a link to a thing. Unconstrained delegation where service account examples will have no credentials in memory on the remote. Okay. Good force. I like these. Ah, I see. That was authentication curves. Okay. The visualization's helping me with this one. That makes sense. Appliance and CGS text for server. Okay. That's cool. Okay. So, in 2003, Microsoft introduced constrained delegation. Restricts what services an account can be delegated to, limiting exposure if an account is compromised. The following are examples of services that can be configured for delegation: HTTP, CIFS, LDAP, host, MSSQL. And this looks to me a whole lot like the kinds of naming conventions that you get with service principal names, and I don't think that's coincidental. Exploiting constrained delegation is usually more complex than exploiting unconstrained delegation, since the delegated account can't just be used for everything. However, it still can be used for some powerful exploitation. An example of this would be if we were able to compromise an AD account that had constrained delegation configured. By knowing the plaintext password, or even just the NTLM hash of the account, we could generate a TGT for this account, a ticket granting ticket for this account, then use the TGT to execute a ticket granting server request for any non-sensitive user account in order to access the service. Sure. And then there's resource-based constrained delegation, RBCD. Resource-based constrained delegation changes the delegation model entirely. I'm reading this out for a couple of reasons. One, to cement it in my head, and also so that we get audio-visual for everyone else here. Instead of specifying which object can delegate to which service, the service now specifies which objects can delegate to it. This allows the service owner to control who can access it. In our web application example, this means that instead of specifying that the web service account can delegate to the database service to access the database, we can now specify that on the database service, the web service account. That's a really confusing sentence. But let's take that again. Instead of specifying that the web service account can delegate to the database service, we can now specify that on the database service, the web service account is allowed to delegate access to it. Okay. So it flips the delegation responsibility, it seems like. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it needs a little bit of editing here. And some visualizations would not go unappreciated here. And this is just basic. Okay, so we will now exploit constrained delegation for this task. Oh, there's just power view. All right, well, thanks for the tool then. Again, though, I want to make it clear that if you try to do this on an actual system with anything like defenses, including Defender, you're going to get burned. So I want to do this kind of more than one way, okay? Delegation should be covered in the CRTO heavily. Great. Okay, so I can use Power View here. But, like I said, I don't want this to be the only thing we do, because running Power View like this raw is going to get you got. It just is. Modern EDRs are going to catch you. What's the alternative to Power View in this case? Glad you asked. I have some thoughts. I wonder if Husky or Killer have any thoughts as to what the alternatives to just running straight. Yeah, what even is AMC? Exactly. What are some alternatives? AD module? If I've compromised the system like this, my next step would be to try to get something that can execute C# assemblies or .NET assemblies. That was what I was thinking, because I don't want to deal with AMC, and I don't want to deal with plain text, basically. Yeah, okay. So in order to do that, we have a couple of toys that we can play with. Yep, exactly. Great. Glad I was thinking along the same lines as you, Husky. So I have some things already set up, ready to go here. The first is Sliver, and I'm glad we're doing this with a user with an admin context, right? So Sliver is going to be my C2 of choice, and I'm going to generate a new profile for this. In addition to Sliver, I already have downloaded the Sharp collection from Flangvik, who's, like, I think speaking right now at DEF CON about a new tool that they have over at TrustedSec for doing cloud enumeration. But Sharp collection is a really handy, basically what it does, it's not just Inve. Sharp collection has compiled .NET assemblies for lots of C# projects. So if you look in Sharp collection, let's do 4.0 any, or yeah, do 4.0 any. There's Inve, but there's also things like Seatbelt, Sharp Cats, Sharp Handler, right? So pretty handy to have this available. And of course, if we were using Cobalt Strike, we would have the execute assembly command in our beacon, but Sliver has the same thing. So we can execute .NET assemblies through a Sliver agent as well. How to get it on the machine? Well, because Defender is not running on this machine, we can just straight up drop it, which is handy. Yeah. I'll also make mention, so something that I've gotten into the habit of doing, for those of you who have to work with .NET stuff a bunch, is I've gotten into the habit of forking C# based repositories and writing actions like threat check. I just did this one the other day. You can have admin privs, you can disable Defender. Yes, I do have admin privs. I can disable Defender, but Defender's not even disabled. Or it's not even there. In the case that Defender is on, since you're admin, you basically disable it. I gotta tell you, disabling Defender is pretty noisy, so I might not want to do that depending on what I'm trying to do. But yes, in this particular case, well, let me say it a different way. Different story between like Defender and Defender for endpoint. Okay? Right? Like Defender that you have out of the box, yeah, knock it off. Right? Defender for endpoint, if you turn that thing off, somebody's going to get an alert about it. Because that is managed. So just be aware that there are some differences. Can we talk about EDR bypasses? We're gonna a little right here, because the way we're gonna drop this thing on here is with an EDR bypass. But before we get there, yeah, just to finish the thought about .NET assemblies. If you, like me, don't want to go to the trouble of assembling C# projects on your machine for every .NET project you want to use, you can do this. You can fork the project, or fork the repo, and then add a GitHub action that will do the compilation for you. And what happens here is it'll just run the build because it has a .NET. It has the .NET stuff in GitHub, and this is free, by the way. You don't have to pay for this. And then you upload the artifact, and then if I go to actions, you see it built, and there's my threat check.exe ready to go. And I have a gist that is the template for doing exactly this. Yeah. But yeah, so Sharp Collection is nice because it has a lot of those ready for us. So obviously we have this PowerShell command. It's really easy to get on. Now let's go talk about Sliver. Sliver, someone asked what it is. It is a C2 framework from Bishop Fox. It is phenomenal. I love this thing. It has almost entirely replaced, unless I'm going after a Linux machine, because compared to government. Stop giving me orders, Morgius. Covenant is written in .NET. Sliver is not. It's written in Go. Covenant uses a very point-and-click interface. Sliver does not. Although there actually is a Sliver UI that they have, that somebody was working on as well. I want to say it was Moloch, but maybe not. Other differences. Oh, communication methods. So built out of the box, one of the communication methods that Sliver has is MTLS, which is auto-encrypted. Sliver won't die mid-engagement. Yeah, I've used Covenant a lot, and I do not like it. I've had too many problems with it. It feels super laggy to me. And Sliver has like fundamentally replaced it for me. Now, keep in mind that I'm not a professional red teamer. I'm purple, right? So I do adversary emulation internally with the point of hardening defenses. That's all red teaming, but I'm not like all the time doing the stuff that Husky's doing. So keep that in mind when I'm giving my comparisons, that my use case is slightly different. But I use Sliver pretty much for any Windows stuff that I want to do at this point. And if I'm on Linux, I'll maybe go back to Metasploit. And the only reason for that is because I haven't yet found a good way to get a Sliver implant going on Linux. It's really designed to work on Windows. So I'm in the Sliver command prompt here, and I'm going to make a new profile. MTLS, I need my IP address on this network. 10.50.78.242. By the way, I haven't seen... Oh no, there it is. The new learning platform. Good. I was not sure if the timer was working. Okay. MTLS. And the format is going to be shellcode. And we'll call that exploiting AD is the name of the profile. So I've made a new implant profile. That's what I just did. If I look for profiles, it'll give me the list here. And you can see that this one's designed to call back to on MTLS on this IP address. Great. And if I look at my jobs, I have an MTLS listener running. So phenomenal. I'm going to exit. One of the cool things about Sliver is that it runs as a systemd service. It's a server client situation. So Sliver's still running. All my stuff is still there. I just want to go to the right folder before I fire it up. So Sliver, if I look for profiles again, you'll see I still have it. Yeah, Red Cloud is still there. I could probably profiles remove that. Delete. Is it RM? Yeah, it is. Profiles RM. Be consistent. Anyway, Red Cloud. Yes. Okay. But now we're going to do profiles generate, exploiting AD. And that's going to compile our shellcode, right? And it's going to put it in that payloads folder. Tigre dos Sucrijos, I think. Welcome. Now, this thing's a little chonky. It's like 130 megs, I think. But what we're going to do with it is we're going to inject that shellcode with our proof of concept dropper known as Rusty Needle. So what Rusty Needle does, it's also what Offensive Notion does to inject shellcode, is it base 64, it iteratively base 64 encodes the shellcode and injects that into a process. So if we look in the Rusty Needle repo here, and you can check it out yourself. There is an encode.py, and what that will do is encode given shellcode, like elegantdignity.bin, into a base 64 encoded thing. And that's exactly what I want to do. So first thing is I'm going to Python 3 encode.py, and I am going to save, rather than the straightforward subcomponent, elegantdignity.bin 3 times. That's kind of my default. And I'm going to save it as this note.txt in payloads. Awesome. And now, because this is a new IP address, I have to change my Rusty Needle dropper source code. So I'm just going to vim source main.rs in the Rusty Needle. I don't have to know Rust to do this, other than to find the thing that I'm changing, which is the URL right here. Okay. And I'll change this up and do port 443, because I'm using 8888 for my MTLS. Okay. So I've saved that. I have to recompile. And to be clear, the reason we're doing this is to, if we want to get a sliver session for other reasons, but it would also be to evade EDR, because this dropper is new, it's weird, it doesn't have the same sort of signatures that and behaviors that other types of malware do have. Now, it can get caught. It can get caught because we're doing something like, in this Rusty Needle does a create thread, right? As opposed to a create remote thread, which would definitely get it burned. But there are other obfuscation techniques that we can go beyond with that. But this is a good start, especially for just a proof of concept. So here I'm going to do a cargo build to my Windows target and build it for release. That'll compile. And I end up with a rustyneedle.exe, which I will then put into my payloads folder as rn.exe. Easy peasy. And then I'm going to go over to my payloads folder, and I'm going to fire up an HTTP server on port 8443. So with that done, Oh god, Internet Explorer. I don't think so. So I'm gonna just from here, I'm gonna wget. I should still have that IP address. Yep, 8443/rn.exe. rn.exe. Yes, wget works on PowerShell. It's just an alias for invoke web request. Use basic parsing. Okay, so rn.exe is down. There it is. And what's going to happen now is that this is going to call out for note.txt, which is the encoded shellcode. And then it will fire off. Okay. Now I'm going to make this easy on myself and run it as an administrator, because why not? There's the call to note.txt. And in a moment, we should see a sliver session pop up right here. That is true, Killer. Yeah, you got to specify sc.exe in PowerShell. I have pretty much switched over to just using get service. Or the other service commandlets. Where am I session at? It might just be taking a while to download because it is, again, large-ish. Why did I not put the H on there? Yeah, so the shellcode is 13 megs, but the encoded is 135. Let's extend our time in case we need to do that. 1 minute left? All right. I don't know if that was accurate, because as we know, try hack me seconds are a little bit different than real seconds. No actual seconds could be found. Please accept this substitute. Hey, there it is. It took a second, but we got there. We have a session. We have a sliver session. So if we use F, that'll just tell us. So it gives us the shellcode name too for ease of use. And now we can do stuff. All sorts of stuff. Have you done previous AD modules? Is it worth going over it? Oh yeah, definitely worth going over it. I am learning and reinforcing a ton by going through these, and that's why I'm committed to 100%ing them, because it's just too much good stuff. It's too much good stuff. Tungus. Just like AM PM. That thing is nightmarish. I'm a fan of the Philly Fanatic, and I still think that Tungus is weird. So it says, let's use Mimikatz to dump secrets. Okay, but like, I'm not dropping Mimikatz on this thing. Why would we do? It's insane that it's here. So in real life, what do we have? Well, now that we have a sliver session, guess what? We can do an execute assembly. There it is. Execute assembly. And first we're going to get system. Then we can do cool stuff. So again, we have an admin context, so we're going to do get system. Yeah, there's sharp and safety cats as well. Exactly right. So this should pop us a new session with system. There it is. So let's use the 895. Okay. Who am I? I'm system. Now that we're system, we can do stuff like execute assembly. And then we just have to point it to the thing on our local system. So it would be home, empty taggart, scripts. This doesn't autocomplete annoyingly, which kind of drives me crazy. So I'm going to go to scripts and sharp collection and any, and just get a PWD going here so I can do a little copy pasta. And it's sharpcats.exe. And the command, because it kind of works like this, what do they want us to do? LSA dump. Because sharpcats is different in the way that it works than mimikatz. It has a different command structure. What about remote dumping SAM, lsas, ntds.dit with crackmap exec? Well, in order to use crackmap exec, you would have to do it over SMB or something like. You can do those things. Those things are highly visible in ways that this may not be. So yeah, so we do LSA dump SAM. What do they want us to do here? What do they want? Just LSA dump secrets. Yeah. Well, let's see what we have Kerberos-wise. It executes the assembly. And yeah. Yeah, in a weird way. So this is actually kind of, I think, a distinction between sometimes red team ops and threat ops. So with red team ops, you're going to try to get a Kali machine on there, right? But honestly, most of the time, the bad guys can't be bothered. If they compromise a system, they're going to load what they want on there, and they're going to use something like Cobalt Strike or Sliver or whatever to do exactly this, right? They're going to execute assemblies, they're going to load their own tools or live off the land, rather than produce a new entity that could be detected on the network, right? Their whole goal is to blend in. And I mean, crackmap exec is an amazing tool, but I also want to just caution from a network telemetry standpoint. If we're thinking about a quasi or semi-mature security architecture, that is going to get, first of all, should be disabled. PS exec especially, but also it's going to get detected by east-west firewalls because that stuff is unencrypted. So anything that's watching the wire is going to have a great time because the wire is a great show. RIP Omar. But also, they're going to see that kind of behavior. So you want to limit what it can see and what looks out of the ordinary. All right, so a lot of machine accounts, looks like. I do have an NTLM hash for my own user. Oh, this is the Henry Shaw user as well. I have no idea if Sliver is allowed on OSCP. I have no idea. I mean, presumably they want you to use Metasploit, right? I don't know. I will never take the OSCP. I don't think that... I wouldn't anticipate you need any C2 at all on OSCP. Yeah, wouldn't imagine either. It's all, what, netcat listeners and things like that? Oh, that's right, you can't use Metasploit. I knew that. I don't know why I said that. That's right, it's all netcat listeners and, like, looking up stuff on search exploit. Okay. So, Killer says, we're looking for hashes that we can use for delegation. Let's look for list shadows, actually. The trick is, I guess we want to see... We're trying to, like, correlate what they're doing here. So there's an LSA key, and then some default passwords, things like that. Okay, so actually, Sharpcat, we might want to see logon passwords and Credman. Those might be revealing for us in this particular case. Doesn't look like shadow copies did anything, so let's do Credman. Same deal. Oh, actually, hold on. This is a lot of data. Okay, list shadows did give us something. But nothing different than I think we had before. We have the machine account hash, which actually might be cool for certain things. They just straight up do Kerberos. It's giving me all the same data. What are we looking for here? Yeah, LSA dump secrets. Yeah, I need a service for the silver ticket, I think is what's going on. I'm just trying to figure out what I can use in Sharpcats to get me to that place. And it looks like... Dump Sam will do it. I keep getting the same stuff back, though. Oh my god, is it because it's case sensitive? Come on. There we go. Log on passwords. Let's try this again. And next we'll do LSA dump or dump Sam. Or actually, let's do list shadows. No shadow copies. And what do I have to do? Basically put it in the right location, right? So looks like I have to escape these as well. Oh no, that was... Sorry. Error registry open on C Windows System 32 config. System. Looks like I couldn't read it. But I am system. Unless I did the path wrong. Yeah. There's a system root. I think that might be wrong. Let's try this with C Windows System 32 config system Sam C. I'll do it without the weird escaping. Windows System 32 config Sam. Any better? No, it definitely needs the the escaped backslashes. All right. Since they're giving us Mimikatz, we'll kind of move forward on that, but I want to be able to do this way. Error registry of C Windows System 32 config system. I'm going to the right spot. Yeah. But there's no... There's no shadow copies. Let's see what this does for us. Can we look at the room once more? Yes, we can. I mean, basically, the issue is that I was trying to use Sharp Cats to do this rather than Mimikatz. But if I use Mimikatz, right, it'll be fine. Right? Easy peasy. Oh, I have safety cats, too. I wonder if that would have been easier. Apparently not. Unless there's something else safety cats can do on non-interactive. Yeah, that's right. But then you can't open it. It was trying to. All right. Yeah, it tries to open it and then it can't, which is interesting. Right, so all that happened. It dumped it. But it's deleting the debug.bin, which I don't want it to do, right? Because then I can't get it to use with PyPyCats. So, whatever. Moving on. We have the service, and there's a secret in here, right? So we have the password for a service account, which is kind of like the point. And then now we're going to use... Can I use... No. Interesting. So I can do a pass the hash, but I can't do... Oh, interesting. Sharpcat's a lot more limited than I thought it was. Because what we're going to do now, right, is generate that ticket. So, yeah, that's right. You want to roll with Rubius. Okay. I would like to do that, actually, because... If you'll bear with me, because I want to get better. Rubius has been something that I know that I need to get more familiar with. And if I can run it through Sliver, that's a little bit closer to real life. BT Watch, thank you for the follow. And we do have it here. Okay, so let's go to Rubius, which I do have. Yes, definitely do. So ask TGT. Perfect. Ask TGT. User is what's that thing? SVCIIS. And the password is password1 at. And we'll apply it to the current session, right? ETT. Looks like we got the ticket. Okay. That's sort of like what we would expect here. And then it's going to do, oh, it's doing the S4U component here. Now that we have the TGT for the account, we force TGS requests. TGT ask. Oh, but we actually went one step ahead, right? Because we asked for the TGS. Oh, that's where those Kirby's were coming from. Right, and we did pass the ticket. So we kind of like jumped a step. Now, I don't think this will be in this session, right? Because I ran this as system. Still need an S4U proxy request for a different service. I think you're right, Husky. Okay. So let's put that together. We requested a ticket for the IS service, but they don't have the juice. Right. Okay, so requesting a user-to-user service ticket, including... Okay, you know what? Let's do it because I'm still learning this. Let me go token elevate. Let's do this the Mimikatz way that they're demonstrating. And then, because I don't think that I'm ready to jump ahead on this just yet. Right, so we got this, we got the secret, we know that we did that part. And then can prefer Kerberos delegation attack, use Kyo and Mimikatz. Find another. Oh, I see. Well, I might as well do that on the on here. Oh, God. Look at all these tickets that are going there. And what is the X64? And this is just gonna do what? TGT ask. So this is doing the TGT ask. Right. Password is right here. Mm-hmm. Now that we have the TGT, we can force TGS requests for the account we want to impersonate. We need to perform this. So TGS S4U. TGT. Okay, let's break down what an S4U request is, because it's like service for user, right? Anthony Goldson, and I'm secure. Thank you for the follows. Yep, see there, we're requesting for HTTP. I don't see that, but I'll believe you. I'm sure we'll get there. Oh, there it is. HTTP. Now that we have the TGT for the account, we can perform delegation. Now that we have the TGT for the account, the delegation, we have 4 teachers for the account we want to impersonate. The account we want to impersonate, though, is what? This T1 account? Yes, we want to impersonate a T1 account. Let's get a different T1 account. Let's turn off traversal. Let's just look for T1s. One admins, show me my members. 23 tier 1s. Thank you. Joseph Barlow. And the Barlow Singers. Okay. So that's going to be kind of what we do here. So it's going to be TGS S for you. Yeah. The user is going to be who are we going after? We're going after, said Joseph Barlow. T1 underscore Joseph dot Barlow. And service is going to be HTTP. So we're getting both, right? We're doing an S4U for both HTTP and for WSMan. Yeah. Okay. And then we do it again On the command account this time for the WS man service. Now that we have the two TGS tickets we can use, so run the command this time for the WS man. So I changed that to WS man. What? There we go. Okay, so we've got both tickets now, at which point we can now use Mimikatz to import them. Kerberos, TTT. Oh my god. TGS underscore T1. Joseph Barlow. Except that is this gonna work? Well, I'll need to spell Joseph Barlow's name correctly. But this is a file, right? Yeah. I have to put it in the right dang location. And we large Mimikatz from like wherever. But that's not right, because like the ticket lives local to this folder. All right, if we go to x64, see, there's a bunch of Trevor Joneses. Where did I put... Oh, it's in downloads, isn't it? There's the Joseph Barlows. Copy as path. So the first one we want is the WS man and the HTTP. It doesn't matter what order we're doing them in, but this path. And then here, okay, so that one's imported, and then we'll change it to the HTTP. Okay. Right, and then KList will tell us I don't I really don't know what I'm supposed to be seeing here. They're not there. Okay. Did we do something wrong? See where it says server. Yeah. That should show. Right, HTTP WS man. And we're not seeing it. Did I skip a step? Perhaps this is the part where Rubius would make more sense. Where first we do an ask TGT. Okay, let's try this with Rubius. So we did ask TGT, and then we're not going to do a pass the ticket. We're just going to do an ask TGT. I think. Okay. So we have ourselves a ticket. Okay. And then the next thing that we're doing, now that we kind of went through this, the next thing we're doing is we're doing a TGS S4U. And I guess the question is, how do I do that with Rubius? I guess that would be ask TGS, right? Ask TGS action will build, parse a new TGS service ticket request using the specified TGT ticket supplied. This value can be a base64 encoding of a .kirby file or the path to a Kirby file. Sure. Yeah. So ask TGS. Ticket is going to be ticket.kirby. Oh, the S4U is TGS. I see. So okay. So instead of STGS, we're going to do S4U. Got it. I'm sorry. This is definitely a learning in public. This is not something that I'm an expert in by any means. This is Active Directory is certainly a weak spot for me. So thank you for bearing with me. I hope you're learning along the way with me. S4U. Can somebody confirm that S4U is service for user? And then we're impersonating T2 Barlow. Joseph Barlow. Is it just me, or does Joseph Barlow sound um, like an evangelist pastor that would lead some sort of weird cult revival? Like the bad guy from Far Cry 5 or whatever it was. It was a T1 anyway. Okay, so I guess I don't actually have a Kirby file here. Where am I? Windows 32. Okay, so we'll give it the... We'll do a little T-Mux magic here. Please don't have spaces. God damn it. It sucks. Alright, that's fine. I'll have to clean this up first, and then... Whoa. Then what are these? Ugh. Recognize spaces. Alright, there we go. So this is going to get large, but it is what it is. You must supply a TGS to impersonate. Did I not? Is it TGS? The TGT is supplied. TGT. I think I still need to get the TGS though, right? I can't just jump to S4U because I don't have... Unless I did something wrong. Yeah, I think... Impersonate user. Did I misspell impersonate user? No. Maybe. Oh, I can't use... I wonder if the string is too long. Yes, Rubius can obtain the TGT and TGS in the same command. But, for whatever reason, this ticket is not doing the job here. Or it doesn't think that I did an impersonate user. But I definitely did, right? And I'm sorry that I have to do this, because I can't use home or end. And control left and right don't work at all, so... Oh boy. Okay, so... If I put it up top, impersonate user, T1, Joseph, Barlow. What do we got? Ticket must be base 64 and code recovery. Is it not? Okay, hold on. We're going to ask for this TGT again. Okay. It's not writing out. Do I have to give ask TGT a thing to save the file? Out file? Thank you. Thank you, Husky. Whew. Okay, now we're going to do S4U ticket tgt.kirby impersonate user, and this is going to be the T1 Joseph.Barlow. Hey! Okay. So we got the TGS. And I'm actually going to do the out file again there. Yes, Kirby. So use PTT to pass that. PTT/OPSEC. What does the OPSEC flag do? That one failed. Without OPSEC, it worked, though. Interestingly. Got a TGS for T1 Joseph Barlow. Okay, so you have the base 64 of the ticket you can read in or pass now. So with that, now that we have the TGS, let's kind of like walk this back. Oh, but the problem is that I have the IIS, but what I want is I didn't get the service. Should I have given it a service? Because I didn't specify what service I wanted. I just got the... Right, impersonate user. But impersonate user... Thanks. Oh, that's so funny. So it is saving those things out. Okay. No, it's actually good. Because this is how I have to learn by hitting every possible wall. MSDS SPN service server. And you can request an alt service with alt service. In one go? A valid. So. So here what we would do is /MSDS/SPN. Let me see if I can figure it out first before you paste the example. So we want HTTP / and it's going to be at, what are we trying to get at, right? At the domain controller, so za.tryhackme.loc, presumably. Or no, thmserver.1 is where we're going, so. And then you said alt service can give me the same thing, which would be wsman /thm server.za.try.loc. Yep. And we got the ticket. What was it? Is it just execute? Yeah. Rubius /triage, huh? Okay. Learning a lot about Rubius today, which is kind of what I wanted to do. That didn't help, really. Oh, excellent. So we plainly do have the HTTP and WS man sessions. I love when you do shells like, this is bad OPSEC, you're an adult. It's like, yeah. Okay. And it's a PowerShell, so we can run klist. And those look good. So enter PS session. Computer thm server1 .za.tryhackme.loc. I don't think that worked though. Yeah, I'm still on work 1. But if I have these in my logon session, if I do it from here, damn it. Oh, because I'm system. Right. That's not going to work because I'm currently system. I believe that there is a PowerShell session running that is doing this. I just can't get at it. So what I should have done, honestly, is use the T2 session to do a bunch of this stuff. But now that we know how to do it, yeah, now that we know how to do it, this is actually something I think I can pull off. So first off is we get the TGT. Yes. Accept. Okay, alpha Alder Kirby. And then we're going to do the S4U, impersonate user, pass the ticket, just like this. Yes. Okay. Now that we have those tickets, I still have, yeah, I still have WS Man. I don't have HTTP, interestingly. Now I have both. That's so funny. If I used alt service rather than MS DSSPN, it works. Now, let's see. Still no, though. I can't just enter PS session. Am I doing something wrong with enter PS session? No. New PS session. Damn it. WinRM cannot process the request. Wait. The host name's wrong. It's THM server 1. I'm going to try enter because that's what I'm used to using. Wow. That's super not right. Let's try new PS session. Failed. Specified login session does not exist. It may already have been terminated. I don't know what you mean, killer. I would happily give your idea a try, but I don't know what you mean by try to request for host. alt service host. At the same server, or just alt service host like this? So I have 4 tickets now. I have WS Man on THM server 1. I have host. Connect to the remote server filled with following. When RM cannot press the following. Specified login session does not exist. Kerberos delegation type allows you specify who is allowed. Servers are wrong for the request services. Okay. If that's true, yeah, I think that's right, and I also think this is what I was told to do. I saw HTTP, but it's HTTP at, not slash, right? Is that closer to what we should have? Nope, that's not right. This is getting messy. Oh, it was already messy. So now I have I don't see any difference here. Okay. So now if let's look at these. So again, I still only have this one HTTP, but you're saying this is HTTP at... Okay. So this should be WS Man. I still only have the HTTP, I should point out. So if I do alt service again, it'll give me WS Man. It's kind of funny. The MSDS SPN doesn't seem to be doing anything. I now have both of these. I do see the difference between what we have now and what we had. Absolutely. I do see the difference. The reason I did it that way was because of the instructions I was receiving. But let's see if this does anything different. Hey, much better. It's weird that it's, yeah. All right, so we have created... Oh, thank you, everybody, for your help. Killer Husky, thank you so much. That's incredibly helpful. No. It's all good. This is complicated stuff, and it's hard to do over text. All right, let's get that flag. I am curious, though, actually. I'm curious if I can do it from the sliver. So if we do enter PS session, computer name, thm server 1 .za.try acme.loc. Oh, it does work. All right, yeah. So basically, getting comfortable. Does PowerShell not? That's weird. I'm not getting output the way that I would expect. I'm getting from hostname, but not from other stuff. I don't know about that. Also, I can't seem to exit out of the sliver shell. That's so funny. Okay, let's get back in here. Okay, with which Kerberos delegation type allows the service to specify? That's what was up here that didn't make any sense at all. Which Kerberos delegation type? Is it? Is it the same thing 2 times? Yes, it is. Oh, which constrained delegation service allows access to the file system of the system via delegation? CIFS. Right. You did, Just a Guy. Okay, I think we have to call it there. We'll continue with this and get this done, but that was a lot. Huge thanks to everybody who helped me out with understanding a little bit about how Rubius works And we did things a little bit differently than they expected. And we have two running sliver sessions on this thing, although we won't sessions. Okay, we'll do a little bit of cleanup there. And we'll shut this thing down. But yeah, so a lot learned about constrained delegation, unconstrained delegation, and for me, the first time really using Rubius to get things going and understanding how to get from TGT to S4U. So that was pretty cool. More to come on our Active Directory exploitation. But for now, I think we're going to call it a day. Thank you so much for hanging out. And let's see if there's anybody else who is on the hack list who is streaming right now. Quite a few people are. So, Live Overflow is streaming. Wow, that's a rare one. Next stream is going to be on Wednesday. So we're doing Wednesdays and Saturdays now. Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll be doing some code, maybe some more binary exploitation. We'll see how that goes. I do have some more programming stuff that I want to do on stream. If you don't know about the hack list, check us out. We are Legion. But for now, enjoy the rest of your day and maybe go see what Live Overflow is doing. Always good stuff going on over there. So until next time, friends, please be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and happy hacking. We'll see you next time.